Part 135. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Dalby in the World. Chapter 1341. Chapter 1341. I'm afraid of being cheap too. Could it be possible to really find someone to throw her out? Now he didn't have the strength to get up and let people in. Outsiders couldn't come in without their permission. This was the result of a great tragedy. She stayed with honor and shame. Qian Yuman saw that Tanyuj couldn't do anything to her, so she happily left her own scent around the house, touching here and there. She also went into the room originally prepared for her children and took a bunch of photos for little Mickey. Let him choose a room as his bedroom in the future and let him think about any changes. After all, it was originally a baby room, but now that the two little guys have grown up, Ruru can easily solve it. It can basically still be used by changing to a big bed. Little Mickey will definitely need to make big changes, and maybe he will have to replan it. Just give him a room. After a while, Qian Yuman entered the room again carrying water and medicine, and took out a thermometer, and carefully completed the physical test under Tanyuj's angry glare. The fever is gone. Great, the body temperature has returned to normal. You can go out now. You haven't taken the medicine yet. Qian Yuman held the water glass and medicine with a smile on her face. Don't take it. A man turned his head arrogantly and refused to take the medicine. Qian Yuman sighed in distress, looking down at the pills in his hand. A trace of amusement flashed in his eyes. I don't know how long it will take for the medicine to melt after I hold it in my mouth. If I pass it through my mouth, will it melt? Qian Yuman thought about this problem seriously, and finally concluded that the outer skin of the capsule will not melt off easily. What do you want to do? Tanyuj still had a stinky face, looking warily at the man who smiled with evil intentions. Qian Yuman picked up a pill, put it to her mouth, and raised the corners of her mouth with a wicked smile. If you don't want to take medicine, then I will feed you with my mouth. We haven't experienced this kind of medicine feeding feeling yet. Maybe we can also have a French kiss. You don't know that I have observed them in the past few years in Paris. People in this country have all kinds of passionate kissing methods. It's so exciting. Why don't we try it today? Qian Yuman was eager to try it. Her eyes were shining with stars, and she opened her mouth slightly to hold the pill in her mouth. Bring it here. A certain arrogant man couldn't fight against someone's shamelessness, so he compromised by taking medicine and stopped showing off his temper. I'll feed you. Qian Yuman possessed him. I don't need you to feed her with your mouth. Tanyuj, who mistakenly thought that Qian Yuman still wanted to feed her with her mouth, raised his head in annoyance. This woman was indeed shameless all the time. He even wanted to hit someone if she was mean. Ha 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 ha. Qian Yuman burst into laughter again, her whole body shaking with laughter. The hand holding the pill almost missed the pill. The water glass in her left hand also spilled a little water because of her trembling, and the poor sheet suffered again. This woman smiled so happily. Didn't you see that he was unhappy? Tanyuj's face is getting more and more stinky, and Qian Yuman's mood is getting happier and happier. It's so fun to tease Mr. Tang, who has a stinky face but still pretends to be cold. He used to be a shameless person, but now she only used 70% of his power, and he couldn't resist her. Mr. Tang. I don't want to feed you by mouth, I just want to stuff it into your mouth with my hands. After Qian Yuman finished speaking, she stuffed the pill into Tanyuj's mouth, which was slightly open, and then handed the water glass to his mouth. Tanyuj moved his eyes elsewhere in embarrassment, took the water glass and swallowed the pills. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Dalby in the World. Chapter 1342. Chapter 1342. I'm afraid of being cheap. 3. After swallowing the medicine, Tanyuj was so proud that he ordered the guests away again. You can leave now. Then what do you want to eat at night? There were a lot of ingredients I bought last time. Considering that you are sick, the food should be lighter. Do you want to eat egg custard? Or drink porridge for a few more days? I recently learned something new. A kind of nutritious porridge is especially suitable for you when you are sick. Jian pretended not to understand his order to exclude guests and talked about what to eat for dinner. Jian, did you hear me? Tang Yuj said through gritted teeth. That's right. Little Mickey is here too, but if he stays with you Xiao 11 these days, you don't have to worry about him being taken care of. If you miss him, he can find him. Continue to pretend not to hear. Saying what he wanted to say. You can't change the fact that you want to leave by talking about your son. By the way, the doctor said you need to rest more, so I won't disturb you here. My son said he would come over to play tomorrow. You have to get well quickly so that you have the strength to play with your son. Jian packed up the porridge and side dishes that Tang Yuj had finished, and left in a hurry, ignoring Tang Yuj's expulsion order from beginning to end. He also had a mean expression like I won't leave, or you'll hit me. Tang Yuj closed his eyes to rest, but sighed several times along the way. He really had no choice. In the evening, Dr. Zhang came again to diagnose Tang Yuj. After an afternoon of rest, Tang Yuj's energy improved a lot and he could get out of bed and walk around. Seeing Dr. Zhang, Tang Yuj used his domineering tone to give orders to the doctor. Take this woman with you when you leave. Dr. Zhang looked at Jian in confusion, and then at Tang Yuj, who had a foul-smelling face. He suddenly understood that it turned out that the couple had a quarrel. Dr. Zhang, are you thirsty? Do you want to drink water? I still want to eat watermelon. I just bought a big watermelon. It's so sweet. Jian just greeted Dr. Zhang to eat watermelon, and Tang Yuj got up in anger. Felt dizzy again and fell onto the bed, looking at the sky speechlessly. It seems that his body still needs to be reconditioned. As long as he has the strength, he must drive her away. When going to bed at night, Tang Yuj closed his eyes and went to sleep. Jian put on pajamas, walked into the room holding a pillow, and climbed onto the bed softly. The moment her knees fell on the bed, Tang Yuj's cold voice sounded. Go down. There was powerlessness, helplessness, anger, and displeasure in the voice. Jian pouted, pretending not to hear, and continued to climb onto the bed. However, a long leg stretched out and kicked Jian down unceremoniously as she just climbed onto the bed. Still facing the ground, he fell to the ground. After a day and night of rest, his leg strength recovered, and it was more than enough to kick Jian out of bed. Tang Yuj, don't go too far, this bed is mine too. She had slept on it for a while, and it was a new bed in their new house. What's yours? Don't forget we were divorced and then broke up again. Really? Why didn't I know that I broke up with you? I only knew that you were having a temper and I was coaxing you. Jian climbed onto the bed again. Fortunately, the bed was larger. This time, she hid on the edge and let him out of reach of long legs. Sugar baby, I'm really tired, let's go to bed early, we have to fight wits and courage, and then I'll argue with you when I wake up. Jian closed her eyes and huddled in the corner to sleep. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 1343. Chapter 1343. Both mother and son are not serious. One. Coax me. Are you kidding? I need a woman to coax you. Who is he? Tang Yuj, a tall man of 1.88 meters, does he need a little woman to coax him? Oops, stop making trouble and go to bed. I'm really tired. If you want to quarrel, wait until I wake up, okay? Jian eyelids were getting heavier and heavier. She was really too tired to argue with Tang Yuj about which bed to sleep on. Tanyuj also saw the tired look on Jianyuman's face, frowned and compromised. However, he still took the pillow and placed it between the two of them, forming a boundary between Chu, he and Han, before lying back on the bed to rest. Tanyuj did not drive her out of bed. Jianyuman, who was lying on the bed, smiled happily and gradually fell into sleep. This night passed calmly. Jianyuman still slept until dawn, and Tanyuj also woke up with the fragrant aroma of breakfast. The bigger reason was that he felt a burning gaze staring at him in his sleep. Did not move away for a moment. Tanyuj slowly opened his eyes. The moment he woke up, he was thinking about how to drive Jianyuman out today. She was always hanging around him, and he was very distressed, always trying to find a way to get her out of his sight. Biden, you're awake. Little Mickey's eyes lit up when he saw the bad guy and idiot daddy waking up, but he still deliberately pretended to be serious when he spoke. Little Mickey's voice? Tanyuj turned around and saw Little Mickey moving a small chair to the side and sitting on the side looking at him. The small chair under his was the one he had specially selected for the purpose of squinting. He never thought that one day, his son would be able to use. At that time, he thought that the baby would be difficult to deliver, and with Li Huan, he thought that the baby rooms would never have an owner, let alone a user. Unexpectedly, they would eventually be used by their owners. Son, why are you here? Tanyuj sat up. He was no longer dizzy compared to yesterday, and his strength was gradually restored. He could pack up a woman and throw her out of the hungry group, but why is Little Mickey here? Little Mickey pursed his lips and stared at his father dissatisfied. You bullied mommy. This sentence is an affirmative sentence, not a question. When Little Mickey spoke, his voice was still complaining that his father was a bit inhumane. Tanyuj stood up slowly, took off his clothes and changed into home clothes in front of his son. Little Mickey saw his father taking off his clothes in front of him, and he covered his eyes shyly. Are you ashamed? Just take off your clothes and show me. Tanyuj paused and looked at his son's rosy face with interest. Why are you so shy when you see my body? Besides, I am your father. Mommy won't take off her clothes in front of me, she is still his own mommy. Why can't mommy? Tanyuj's mouth twitched and he patiently tried to reason with his son. Your mommy is a woman and I am a man. There are differences between men and women. Don't you all say you are a man? People of the same are not so particular. Then why did you take off your clothes in front of mommy before? Aren't you guys different? Little Mickey blinked his big eyes innocently. We are husband and wife, we are different, otherwise why would we have you? Oh. It's okay as long as you are a couple. I understand, I'll tell mommy. Little Mickey took out a pen from his back, and it was a recording pen. He pressed it lightly to play what Tanyuj said just now. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 1344. Chapter 1344. Both mother and son are not serious too. We are husband and wife, just 5 words. Little Mickey set up a routine and let his father get in, and successfully recorded Tanyuj admitting that Jianyuman was his wife. You stinky boy, you've tricked even your father, give me your pen. Tanyuj walked over to hide the pen from his son's hand. Little Mickey rubbed oil on the soles of his feet and ran out quickly. Even though he was only 3 years old, his running speed was not slow. He immediately slipped behind mommy and hid. Jianyuman, who was busy in the kitchen, was first hugged by her son, and then saw Tanyuj running to him wearing a top and a pair of boxer briefs. My dear, you are so unrestrained early in the morning. Why did you take off your pants and top and come here? You are half exposed, you are not seductive enough. Jianyuman teased Tanyuj in an interesting way, with a revealing look. The ground scanned Tanyuj's body. At that moment, Tanyuj felt that her body was aroused by her gaze, and she must have been thinking about some dirty things in her mind. This woman is still as interested as ever, she can't help but act rude in front of her son, and she doesn't know how to maintain her image as a mother. Jian-yuman, please pay attention to your son beside you. Tang Yuj showed a loving father's attitude and taught Jian-yuman a lesson in his words and deeds. Son. Jian-yuman looked down at her son and smiled indifferently. It doesn't matter. The child is 3 years old and should receive early sexual education. Besides, my son has seen me kissing you passionately before, so this is nothing. Yes. Daddy, I'm not a child anymore, and I understand a lot of things. Last time you rolled around without clothes, which made mommy scream all the time, and I witnessed it, little Mickey said seriously. He was talking about a scene he saw when he went to see his mother one night. The expression still shows that I am already an adult. You don't need to treat me like a child, I already understand everything. Little Mickey's words made Tang Yuj's jaw drop. Jian-yuman, who had always been calm, was smiling one moment, but the next moment she realized what her son was saying. She almost sat on the ground, and her face turned red quickly. What's the situation? Jian-yuman, look at how old your son is when you teach him to have the same virtues as you. Tang Yuj was going crazy. Where would he put his old face, and let his son see the joy of their boudoir? Jian-yuman's face turned red and she wanted to teach her son not to tell others what she saw casually, but she was angered by Tang Yuj's words. What do you mean I have this kind of virtue? What's wrong with me? I'm so proud of you, but you still don't love my temperament. Besides, my son will see it when he sees it. It's okay for me to be a woman, but you, a big man, are so shy. Jian-yuman stuck out her tongue at Tang Yuj and knelt down to look at her precious genius son. Little Mickey, you are only 3 years old and you are already an adult. Next time you enter your parents' room, remember to knock on the door. Why? Little Mickey was puzzled. I see you guys are having a lot of fun. I want to roll around with you next time. Seeing how happy Daddy and Mommy were at that time, it must be something adults love to do, and he also wants to participate in it. Tang Yuj is even more irritable. Look at what he's like. Jian-yuman couldn't help laughing and hugged her son hard. Little Mickey, it's more fun to play with 2 people. Although sometimes some people like to play with 3 or 4 people, but if you really want to play, you should wait until you grow up. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 1345. Chapter 1345. Both mother and son are not serious. 3. Jian-yuman couldn't help laughing and hugged her son hard. Little Mickey, it's more fun to play with 2 people. Although sometimes some people like to play with 3 or 4 people, but if you really want to play, you should wait until you grow up. Jian-yuman, do you educate your son like this? There are only 3 or 4 people playing. Tang Yuj was almost defeated by the conversation between mother and son. Little Mickey is less than 3 years old, and he still has 1 or 2 months to go before he turns 3. She actually gave her son popular science knowledge about in a serious manner. Little Mickey looked at his parents in confusion, realizing that he didn't understand what they were saying. Could it be that it was something only adults knew? I'm not young anymore, why can't I? I want to play too. Little Mickey is dissatisfied. There is nothing that his gifted children cannot do. They discriminate against children. No, Jian-yuman smiled and shook her head in refusal. Little Mickey pouted dissatisfiedly. Mommy, why don't I play with you? We can finally play together, right? When Jian-yuman heard her son Tang Yanwuji's words, she was completely bent over with laughter. Tang Yuj on the side was completely irritable and not calm at all. He came over and picked up his son's collar and taught him a lesson. You brat, you have to do this with the girl you like, not your mommy, that's it. He still wants to play with Jian-er. Is that what he can do? Not sure. In the following decades, little Mickey's words were always mentioned by his father. As a result, when classmate Tang Aoken grew up, every time his father hit him, he wanted to go back to his childhood and strangle himself to death. What he said today has become a big stain on his cool life. Little Mickey was silent, his big and smart eyes scanned around his father, and suddenly he seemed to understand something. "Daddy, you are jealous." Tang Yu's face instantly turned foul. Little Mickey showed a proud expression when he saw it. "You see, I'm not too young. I'm treated like a child. Mommy, I want to give you something." Little Mickey threw the voice recorder in his hand to Jian Yuman. Jian Yuman, who caught the recorder, looked at her son in confusion. "What's this?" Tang Yu's pupils dilated and he immediately rushed over to grab it. He didn't even have time to put down his son. Tang Yu's weird face and her son's cunning little expression could not make her guess that what her son gave her was definitely not simple, so she immediately ran away with the recording pen in her arms. Press the play function while escaping. "We are husband and wife, we are husband and wife, we are husband and wife." Tang Yu's voice came out from the recorder over and over again. When Jian Yuman heard the contents of the recorder, the smile on his face instantly became very bright. He stopped with a smile and looked at Tang Yu, who gave up the robbery with a stinking face and still held his son in his hand. "Little Mickey looks hopeless. Why does he have to carry himself around all the time? He is not a rag doll. Put him down quickly. The way he is being carried by his father is not cool at all. Why should he have to deal with such parents and let his cool life become like this? Mr. Tang, it turns out that in your heart, we are still husband and wife." Jian Yuman held the recording pen and smiled very sweetly, her shy eyes falling on Tang Yu from time to time. "Don't get me wrong, your genius son lied to me. We are no longer husband and wife. I know you still have me in your heart, you can't let me go, and you love me to death." End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 1346. Chapter 1346. Both mother and son are not serious for. I know you still have me in your heart, you can't let me go, and I love you to death. A certain woman has now learned to automatically filter out what she doesn't want to hear, and treats the unpleasant words Tang Yu said as if he didn't say them. Tang Yu felt powerless for a while. In the past 2 days, he had seen this little woman's shameless skills. No matter how many unpleasant things he said, she would pretend not to hear and say some disgusting things to herself. "Mr. Tang, give me a kiss." Jian Yuman leaned over, and under Tang Yu's resisting glare, she quickly kissed him on the face, and then snatched her son away from him. "Jian Yuman, if you don't leave after 10 minutes, I will throw you out." Tang Yu's determination to drive Jian Yuman away has not weakened. "Son, are you hungry? I just cooked your favorite millet porridge for you. Look at how hungry you have become since you haven't been with mommy for a few days." Jian Yuman carried her son into the kitchen and ignored what Tang Yu said again. "Mommy, I don't want porridge, I want to eat hamburger. That stuff is not nutritious. Then fried chicken. You'll get fat." "Ah, I want to eat hamburgers, chicken fries." Mother and son interacted lovingly. Little Mickey, who rarely protested against his mother's breakfast, lost the case and could only drink millet porridge. The reason is that daddy is sick and cannot eat too greasy food. None of the options he mentioned are acceptable, so he follows Tang Yu to drink light millet porridge with some side dishes. The father and son sat together, and Jian Yuman sat opposite them, propping up her chin and watching them eat breakfast. Although the two father and son don't look alike, their eating postures and demeanor are exactly like father and son. Especially during this period, Tanyuj looked like a little Mickey who liked to pretend to be cool. It's really rare for a family of 3 to sit down and eat together. It would be perfect if Ruru was there too. I heard that you are staying at Aunt Murong's house recently. Tanyuj turned to talk to his son, ignoring the woman opposite who was looking at them in a daze. Well, I want to play with my little sister. Little Mickey sipped his porridge with his head down. Ruru. Yes, Ruru is so cute. Speaking of his cute little sister, little Mickey showed a doting smile coming from his brother. Are you staying here these days? No, I heard from mommy that you were sick, so I came over to see you. I still have to go back in the evening after finishing half a bowl of millet porridge. Little Mickey smiled with satisfaction and grabbed another one from Daddy. He took a small egg roll and stuffed it into his mouth. Tanyuj raised his eyebrows in surprise. He thought the little guy was Jianyuman's favored foreign aide, but he didn't expect that he would come to visit him and would leave later. I haven't gotten along with my son for a while, and a domineering father gave him direct orders. Don't you want to stay with Daddy for a while? You don't have to go back these days. You can live here. I don't want to. I don't want to disturb you. Mommy said she would make me a younger brother with you. Little Mickey shook his head seriously. He now has a younger sister, and all he needs is a younger brother. Mommy said that Biden Daddy was having a tantrum during this period and didn't pay much attention to Mommy. She said that she would coax and pamper Daddy here, and he might have a little brother in a few days. Tanyuj was speechless again and looked at Jianyuman. He really had a unique method of teaching his son. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 1347. Chapter 1347. Both mother and son are not serious. 5. Mr. Tang, please don't force your son to stay. I am his mother and I will stay on your behalf. I can stay as long as you want. I have time for a year or two for the rest of my life. Jianyuman opened her hands. A flower sells itself. I'm beautiful and cute. I can warm the bed, cook, and do anything with you. This little guy pretends to be cool, but in fact, it's not much fun. A certain crazy mother made her son worthless in order to stay, and received a sad look from her son. Don't want to stay, Tanyuj said slowly, word by word, with a dangerous tone in his voice. However, little Mickey didn't notice it at all, shaking his head and drinking porridge. Okay then, Tanyuj held his mouth and nodded slowly, leaning back on the chair, crossing his legs, waiting for his son to finish breakfast. 10 minutes later, little Mickey and Jianyuman were thrown out of their homes at the same time, leaving no one behind. You can't do this, Mr. Tang. Jianyuman cried and howled while holding onto the iron door. Little Mickey also held onto the iron door and sighed deeply. Mommy, I haven't gone to my room to take a look yet. Why did Mr. Biden throw me out? He had obviously asked him to stay with him just now. Baby, you are implicated by me. Jianyuman was about to cry, this heartless guy. She worked hard to take care of him, and when she had some strength, he threw her out of the house and locked her to prevent her from entering. Whoa, why are you so pitiful? Mommy, what should we do now? Climb over the wall and get in. Little Mickey came up with an idea. Jianyuman rolled her eyes, raised her chest and raised her belly with dignity and pointed at the villa angrily. Mr. Tang, just wait. If we get back together in the future, see if I don't come back to you. Slowly turned around and came to the big tree before, wiped the dust on the lounge chair, lay down on it, and put a pair of sunglasses on his face. I'll wait here, you can do whatever you want. Little Mickey's mouth twitched and he looked at Mommy with a look of disgust, actually letting him do whatever he wanted. Half an hour later, Tanyuj looked through the window on the second floor and saw the mother and son still at the door. Jianyuman lay on the recliner and dozed off. Little Mickey didn't have a chair to sit on, so he sat cross-legged on the grass, holding a book and reading with relish. The interesting and loving relationship between mother and son made Tanyuj feel soft in his heart, and a faint smile appeared at the corner of his mouth unconsciously. Then he realized his reaction, frowned in annoyance, turned back to the room and stopped looking. At noon, the smell wafted in again, and Tanyuj walked around the room uncomfortably. He was hungry and didn't want to eat microwaved food. At this time, the doorbell rang. It was little Mickey ringing the doorbell at the door. "Daddy Biden, lunch is ready, come out to eat." Little Mickey stood at the door and called Tanyuj enthusiastically. Watching him through the surveillance camera in the house, he was very annoyed, especially when he saw little Mickey holding he was tempted by dishes that looked delicious at first sight. "No need, just eat it." Tanyuj turned his head with some annoyance, thought for a while and took out his cell phone to call Secretary Zhang. "Send me the nutritious lunch immediately. If you accidentally let Miss Jian in when you come, you can resign and get out." Secretary Zhang was very aggrieved when he received the call. "Mr. Tang, I am not in the country, you forgot. This is your business. I need to have lunch in half an hour." The smell outside was so tantalizing to him that he couldn't bear it anymore. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Dalby in the World. Chapter 1348. Chapter 1348 Explanation of Misunderstanding 1. "Okay, Mr. Tang." Secretary Zhang hung up the phone timidly, and then let out a wolf howl. Why force him, why let him intervene in the quarrel between their husband and wife? He is just a secretary. Just a secretary. 20 minutes later, the person sent by Secretary Zhang delivered lunch to the door. The mother and son who were eating lunch had their eyes opened. Mother and son looked at each other in tacit understanding and spoke at the same time. "Your dad is awesome. Your husband is amazing." Then they laughed together and continued to eat the food on the table. Little Mickey was still complaining about the idiot of White Egg Daddy. How could the takeout food be more delicious than the food made by mommy? In the evening, little Mickey was picked up by Wang Tianyu and sent to Murong 11's home, while Qian Yuman was left pitifully in the cold wind. As soon as little Mickey left, Tanyuj rushed over and ran out past Qian Yuman. Qian Yuman, who was lying on the recliner shivering, watched Tanyuj run past her and immediately stood up angrily. "Mr. Tang, where are you going? You can actually ignore her, a weak woman blowing the cold wind here, it's so inhumane." Tanyuj ran a few steps and watched Wang Tianyu take away little Mickey. His eyes were eager and anxious. When he saw Qian Yuman's car parked aside, he was about to climb in and drive to chase people, but Qian Yuman hugged his arm. "Mr. Tang, do you want to pursue Tianyu? Then you still won't let me go." Qian Yi smiled coquettishly and shook her head quickly. She seemed to have grasped something key. "I won't let go, I won't let go. I begged you so hard just now that you didn't come down, but my brother came and ran faster than anyone else. You are treating me differently. Let go quickly. I refuse. Even if you rush to stop Tianyu now, he won't want to see you." Qian Yuman's words touched the pain in Tanyu's heart, and his face was gloomy and ugly. Qian Yuman still smiled miserably, and a pair of jade hands wrapped around his arm, holding him tightly in her arms. "Mr. Tang, do you want to repair the relationship with Tianyu?" Qian Yuman blinked her big beautiful eyes, tempting him. Tanyuj glanced sideways at Qian Yuman. "Do you have any idea?" "Well, based on my current relationship with Tianyu, I can still say a few nice words to give you a chance to reconcile." Qian Yuman and Tianyu are not friends now, and Wang Tianyu is because of his feelings for Qian Yuman feeling guilty. He was completely obedient to her during this period of time, almost always responding to her requests. Qian Yuman hated Wang Tianyu very much, which caused her relationship with Mr. Tang to become so bad. However, there would be no eternal enemies. She knew very well that Wang Tianyu held an important position in Tanyu's heart, so she did not completely fall out. Today, Wang Tianyu showed up within a few minutes and seduced Tang Yuge. Qian Yuman immediately came up with many ways to reconcile with Tang Yuge. Hearing Qian Yuman's words, Tang Yuge narrowed his eyes dangerously. Do you have a good relationship with him now? Realizing that Tang Yuge was jealous, she shook her little head quickly and looked at Tang Yuge innocently. No, we can't be considered friends, but he feels sorry for me and has been obedient to me during this period. Condition. Qian Yuman's eyes lit up, she had indeed made the right bet. Give me a chance to explain. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 1349. Chapter 1349 Explanation of Misunderstanding 2. Qian Yuman's eyes lit up, she had indeed made the right bet. Give me a chance to explain. Misunderstanding? Is there a misunderstanding between us? Tang Yuge's voice dropped sharply, and his eyes turned cold when he looked at Qian Yuman. He tried to take his hand out of Qian Yuman's hand, but failed. Qian Yuman was empty and Tang Yuge would pull away, so he held her tightly. Look at you, don't you think there is no misunderstanding between us? Aren't you curious why I don't marry Kenny and wait for you downstairs every day? Don't you care? I don't care, Tang Yuge said cruelly, looking elsewhere with an expression of indifference. Tang Yuge's ruthlessness this time was indeed beyond Qian Yuman's expectations. In Qian Yuman's opinion, even if Mr. Tang is arrogant, he still has her in his heart. This time the quarrel was serious and he was seriously injured, so he could accept making things difficult for her. In fact, this time he really gave up. Since his serious illness, he has been indifferent to everything. He didn't investigate why Qian Yuman insisted that Ruru was his daughter. He didn't even want to find out where Qian Yuman was going to get married. He only knew about work every day, and everything else was superfluous in his eyes. Matter. His heart was so cold that even if he faced Qian Yuman and said he had a misunderstanding and begged for forgiveness, it could not make him feel any softer. He was really heartbroken to have this series of reactions. Qian Yuman's heart felt stinging and she took a deep breath. It doesn't matter, he is doing this to himself now because he doesn't know the truth. As long as he knows the truth, he won't be so cruel. Whether you agree or not, listen quietly to my explanation, and I will help you give Tianyu a chance to get along with you. Qian Yuman put forward the conditions, and she was very uneasy. She was not sure whether he would agree, for fear that he would be cruel again. Deny yourself. Say it. Tang Yuge walked to the recliner, crossed his legs, looked at Qian Yuman calmly, and waited for her explanation. Mr. Tang, I don't want to get married anymore. In fact, I never wanted to marry Kenny from the beginning to the end. The reason why I said I wanted to marry him was to make you angry and make you give up. Why do I want to marry him so desperately? The fact is that you broke up because... Qian Yuman slowly talked about the reason. It starts from the fact that they separated 3.5 years ago because she pretended to run away from home, but was kidnapped by Wang Tianyu. When they met later, they misunderstood him because of seeing Ruru, and they did cruel things to him in pain. She spoke very carefully and earnestly. When she talked about the sad parts, she would shed tears. She said she felt deeply guilty when she knew the truth, and she said it all in one breath. It took almost half an hour to finish talking about these things. When Qian Yuman finished talking about everything, his heart became even more uneasy, feeling very uneasy. Because Tang Yuge remained expressionless from beginning to end, maintaining the same posture as when he sat down, and listened calmly to her explanation. It was so calm that she was scared. Why did Mr. Tang hear her explanation and knew that it was all a misunderstanding? He didn't laugh, nor did he hold himself in his arms and say that everything was over. Instead, he listened to her words calmly. After she finished speaking, the two looked at each other and were silent for a while without speaking again. Qian Yuman clenched her hands into fists and her lips trembled. Mr. Tang, can you forgive me? End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 1350. Chapter 1350 Painful Questioning 1. Mr. Tang, can you forgive me? Qian Yuman looked at Tangyuj nervously, not daring to blink for fear of missing any of Tangyuj's expressions. She had been waiting for the explanation on this day for a long time. She thought it would take some time before Tangyuj would hear the explanation, but she didn't expect that the day would come so quickly. But why was the effect different from what she expected? Was he too happy? Or something else? Tangyuj suddenly sneered and spoke slowly. Won't. Qian Yuman's anxious heart instantly sank to the bottom. She blinked and wondered if she had heard wrongly. Mr. Tang said he would not forgive her. Why? Qian Yuman paused for several seconds before slowly asking the reason, her voice becoming hoarse and trembling. I have already explained that all this was done by Tianyu in order to take revenge on you. Why don't you forgive me? Why? She had already explained everything very clearly. She was afraid that he would not understand, so she explained in great detail, even including her own also express your feelings. But why was he not forgiven? Even if Tianyu is wrong, all of this is based on a loophole. If from the beginning, you would not have been instigated by him to think that I was in love with 11, then you would not have filed for divorce from me. Then when you saw the divorce agreement, you decided that I was signed by someone else, and you even thought that 11 and I were getting married and had a daughter. You never came to me and asked me face to face. It was your timidity and distrust that ruined it. The reason why our marriage ended was not entirely because of God. From the beginning to the end, you didn't trust me at all. No, that's not the case, I'm just scared. Qian Yuman shook her head quickly. What are you afraid of? Is there anything that scares you more than being separated from me? If you believed what I said from the beginning, didn't think about it from the beginning, and asked me face to face if you had any misunderstandings, there would be no relationship between us. So many misunderstandings. Isn't it because of your wrong judgment that we have lost time in the past 3 years? Just because Ruru is my daughter, you hurt me so cruelly. When you saw us eating, you rushed up to question me. Will there be such a follow-up? You thought you knew all the truth, and cruelly used your anger to stimulate me and break up with me. Then what did I do wrong? Why should I be hurt by you so much? Just because the psychological shadow given by my elders made me not believe in love and did not realize that I had fallen in love with you, why should I endure the pain of separation and loss of my lover? Why? Why? Tangyu's aggressive questioning made Qian Yuman burst into tears. She didn't know how to explain and comfort Tangyu's pain. Tangyuj asked questions one after another, like a big stone, weighing on her heart, making her breathless. I'm sorry, I know I was wrong. I know I was wrong now. Qian Yuman confessed and apologized while crying. Do you think I will forgive you unconditionally if you make a mistake? You can't understand how painful I have been in the past few years. Do you know how regretful I am that I didn't fall in love with you first in the past few years, because if I had fallen in love with you first, so many things would not happen in the future, and we would not even lose our child. But in the end, I found out that our child was not dead at all, and you also hid the fact that little Mickey was alive from me. This is your deceptive behavior. Have you ever blamed yourself? End of this chapter.